Hello, everyone. Sorry, I am having some issues. I can't get that little dot on the green dot on the forehead to go away, so I have to sit further back than I'm used to. So it's been a bit of a pain. They're like, "Oh, it's so simple. You click this, you move this." Yeah, I'm doing that, and it's not working. So I'm far away from the screen, which is not pleasant. The hell was that? Is that a ghost? Okay, so we're gonna try this. See what I'm saying? Like I can't get too close, but I can move, and that's okay. It's I'm new at this, and I'm really annoyed. I'm told it's so simple, and yet it hasn't been. I can't use the lights because the lights interfere with that and give me green. But I was told, no, you have to use the lights. But if I use the lights, and now it's okay. So let me see something. I don't like. Yeah, see, it just getting annoyed. Maybe that's fine. That's enough light there. I don't know. But I got the green screen. So we're going to go ahead and... this is Armchair Historian. I have 3 different lights. I just jump around, didn't I? Apologies. I have 3 new lights coming. They'll be set up behind there, and hopefully I'll get a better setup going. And so I can't lean forward because then that happens. Oh, this has been 2 hours, and I just cannot. I was yelling. Oh, I'm frustrated. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and do this. This is Armchair Historian, the Indo Pakistani War, 1965. Before we get started, you can watch me glitch out here. Click that thumbs up button for me if you could. What was the next one? China's war against India. Click that thumbs up for me. That helps out tremendously. You can subscribe to the channel if you'd like. Hopefully I'll get this figured out. It'll be a little better. A little green dot on my shoulder there. I think it's from that light. Let me see. Let me turn this down, get a little softer. Yeah, it's a little better. But anyways, so you can subscribe to the channel. You can donate through the thanks button. And if you do, you can request a video and you'll see your name sponsoring the video. And from there, you can still request videos. It just takes a little bit longer. But I've lost all my requests. I'm flustered right now. It's just been it was a good day up until I started messing with this. And then it just became a ugh. All right, let's get into the video. Sorry, I'm going to move around and this is just going to happen. It's just until they get back to me and tell me what's going on, what I'm doing wrong. All right, let's get into it.
You can watch this video without any ads or sponsorships and an exclusive companion episode about the Indian invasion of Goa by subscribing to our platform Armchair History TV. Go to the link in the description below to join today. In 1947, Britain's 200-year rule over the Indian subcontinent finally came to an end. The former British Raj was divided into 2 separate nations, India and Pakistan. This partition was driven by religious and political differences, with Pakistan envisioned as a homeland for Muslims, while India retained a secular government with a Hindu majority. A major issue with the partition was the arbitrary drawing of the borders, which often ignored local demographics and historical ties. This resulted in one of the largest mass migrations in history, with millions of Hindus and Sikhs moving to India and millions of Muslims moving to Pakistan. The transition...
Now, they said that the lands were drawn by the British, correct? And I'm sure the British really didn't look into it. They just kind of, here you go, we're just going to cut this in half. And oh, I don't know where that came from. We're going to cut this in half, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and there you go.
Was ill-prepared, rushed, and far from peaceful, as widespread violence led to the deaths of over 1 million people. The staggering loss of life caused by this uprooting caused a deep-seated animosity to fester between the two young nations. This partition also led to a geopolitical crisis, as the princely state of Jammu and Kashmir became a significant point of contention. Despite its majority Muslim population, the Hindu Maharaja of Kashmir, Hari Singh, chose to accede to India, a decision that sparked immediate conflict. Pakistan, which saw Kashmir as a natural extension of its territory due to the demographic majority, responded with military intervention. This led to the First Kashmir War from 1947 to 1948, a bloody conflict that resulted in a UN-mediated ceasefire in 1949. The ceasefire established the line of control, effectively dividing Kashmir into areas administered by India and Pakistan. However, this did not resolve the underlying dispute, as both nations continued to lay claim to the entire region. The United Nations called for a plebiscite to allow the people of Jammu and Kashmir to decide their own future, but this was never implemented. The unresolved status of Kashmir meant that India and Pakistan's bad blood continued to simmer for years after the war. By the mid-1960s, both nations were also under immense political pressure. In Pakistan, internal instability left President Ayub Khan, who had come to power through a military coup, facing dissent and regional tensions. Seeking to consolidate his power and unite the country under a common cause, he focused national attention on the Kashmir dispute. For India, Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri aimed to assert the nation's sovereignty and respond firmly to any threats, especially in light of the recent Chinese invasion in 1962, which had left the country on high alert. The international situation further complicated things, as the Cold War saw both India and Pakistan seeking support from global superpowers. Pakistan was allied with the United States and received military aid through agreements like SEATO and CENTO. Meanwhile, India, after its war with China, leaned toward the Soviet Union for military support. These alliances meant that the Kashmir issue was no longer a local conflict, but a new flashpoint in the Cold War, with both superpowers closely monitoring developments in South Asia. Tensions finally reached a breaking point in August of 1965, when Pakistan launched Operation Gibraltar. This plan was to infiltrate Jammu and Kashmir with trained guerrillas to incite an insurgency against Indian rule. Pakistan's leadership believed that an uprising in Kashmir would force India to negotiate the status of the region. However, the operation did not go as planned. The Kashmirs did not rise in revolt as expected.
It never does. It'll never go the way you want it to. Otherwise, we wouldn't have this video. Nothing's ever been perfect.
And Indian forces quickly discovered the infiltrators, engaging them in heavy fighting all throughout August. I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, World of Warships Legends, a massive on-play games to battles engagement experience meets the Star Trek unit might fare now in a card official Star Trek newcomers saw the German Tier 3 cruiser Karlsruhe, 7 days of premium account, 5 common crates, 10 red, white, and blue camouflages, Warships Legends today. As conflict loomed, both India and Pakistan had built up their militaries ready for mobilization, each confident in their preparedness and capabilities. Pakistan's military, though smaller in overall numbers, was highly professional and well-trained, comprising approximately 260,000 active personnel. Additionally, the army itself was supplemented by over 250,000 paramilitary troops concentrated on the Kashmir region. The Pakistani military benefited from extensive training programs, with many officers trained in Western military academies. Their forces were equipped with modern American weaponry, tanks, and aircraft. Pakistan's armored units and air force were considered to be technologically superior, while their strategy was heavily influenced by the belief that a quick, decisive action in Kashmir could catch India off guard and compel them to negotiate. On the other hand, India's military was one of the largest in the world, with around 700,000 active personnel. After the Sino-Indian War in 1962, the Indian military had restructured and improved their training programs, focusing on flexibility and mobility to counter potential threats on multiple fronts. India's equipment included older but reliable British and Soviet tanks, such as the Centurion and the T-55, and their air force operated Hawker Hunter and MiG-21 aircraft. While not as technologically advanced as Pakistan's American-supplied gear, India's equipment was robust and battle-tested. India had been on high alert since the Chinese invasion and had invested significantly in military readiness and infrastructure, making them better prepared for a prolonged conflict. In response to Operation Gibraltar, India launched a full-scale military response. Indian forces crossed the line of control on August 28th and engaged Pakistani troops in heavy fighting. The early stages of the war were marked by intense skirmishes and battles at key locations like Hajipur. Indian forces, aiming to neutralize the infiltrators, had effectively advanced into Pakistani-administered territory. This phase saw fierce encounters all across Jammu and Kashmir, where both sides vied for strategic dominance. One of the early key battles was fought at Kargil during the Chum Offensive, where Indian troops managed to push back Pakistani infiltrators, securing the region. As the conflict escalated, both nations mobilized their full military capabilities, leading to widespread engagements. On September 1st, Pakistan launched Operation Grand Slam, a bold offensive aimed at capturing the vital Akhnor Bridge in Jammu. This bridge was crucial, as it connected the Indian-controlled Kashmir Valley with the rest of India. Pakistan's strategy was to sever this link and cut off Indian supply lines, thereby crippling Indian operations in the region. Initially, Pakistan achieved success as they advanced rapidly toward their objective. However, the tide began to turn as Indian forces mounted a counteroffensive. India responded by opening a new front in the Punjab region, launching a massive attack toward the city of Lahore. This forced Pakistan to divert troops from Operation Grand Slam to defend its own territory, diluting their efforts in Jammu. The Indian advance toward Lahore saw heavy fighting, especially around the towns of Fatpur and Dograi, where Indian forces managed to gain ground despite stiff resistance. Conditions faced by infantry on both sides were grueling. Soldiers endured extreme weather conditions, from the scorching plains of Rajasthan to the frigid mountains that dominated Jammu and Kashmir. Continuous combat added to the difficulties, with both armies engaging in fierce close-quarters battles. Both India and Pakistan deployed significant artillery units to bombard enemy positions and disrupt supply lines. The widespread use of artillery fire led to high casualties and created a constant threat for infantry as they attempted to advance on enemy positions. To break the slog of massed infantry attacks, both sides employed extensive use of tanks. From September 8th,
for a split second, I thought he was going to say both sides used nuclear weapons. And I was about to say, well, wait a minute, what? And then I was like, no. As soon as he said tanks, it don't know, that's never been used. But I know that it gets brought up a lot now. But, oh, I just had that fear. Oh, no. Oh, no. I'm going to do the China, Indo-China or next. Just, hey, there's that green dot. Somebody must be trying to assassinate me. Oh, there they go again. Better get to the video. I don't want to die.
To the 10th, Pakistani and Indian armored forces faced off near the village of Asal Uttar in Punjab. Pakistani forces, fielding their advanced M48 Pattons, initially made significant gains. However, Indian forces, using strategically defensive positions alongside their own Centurion and Sherman tanks, managed to halt and eventually repulse the Pakistani advance. On September 11th, 28 Pakistani tanks were destroyed, with the loss of only one Indian tank at Philora. This battle was a turning point, resulting in heavy losses for Pakistan and earning India a strategic victory. 3 days later, one of the largest tank battles of the war took place in the Sialkot sector. Pakistani forces aimed to capture the town of Chavinda, which was strategically important due to its railway connections. The battle saw intense fighting, with both sides deploying large numbers of infantry, tanks, and artillery. Indian forces initially made significant inroads, but fierce resistance from Pakistani troops, combined with effective use of artillery, stalled their advance. In the desert region of Rajasthan, Indian forces staunchly defended against continuous Pakistani offensives across the sector. These operations helped secure the desert front and prevented Pakistani forces from making significant inroads. The conflict also saw significant air battles, with both countries deploying their air forces extensively. The Indian and Pakistani Air Force engaged in numerous dogfights and bombing raids. India targeted key military installations and supply lines in Pakistan, while the Pakistanis aimed to disrupt Indian ground operations using their more modernized aircraft, which helped offset their inferior numbers. Naval operations, though limited, also played a role in the conflict. On September 7, 1965, Pakistan launched Operation Dwarka, aiming to destroy Dwarka's radar station, lower Indian morale, and force the Indians to divert their naval and air assets. While Pakistan claimed partial success, Indian sources dispute this. The Indian Navy ramped up maritime defense, conducting patrols and sweeps in the Arabian Sea to protect ports and shipping from Pakistani threats. These operations, while not involving major naval battles, ensured the safety of India's coastline and merchant vessels, limiting Pakistan's naval impact. The primary theater of conflict was in the west, as the front in East Pakistan, what would later become Bangladesh, saw little military activity. Indian and Pakistani forces engaged in skirmishes all along the border, but the Eastern Command of the Indian Army made no plans to invade East Pakistan. This was primarily due to East Pakistan's isolation and their growing discontent with Pakistani rule. As one Indian general stated, "Why kill the East Pakistanis who hate the West Pakistanis anyway?" For India, it was...
That wasn't me. That was you. I was just going to say, why invade the Eastern... Is it Eastern Pakistani? Hold on.
East Pakistanis who hate the West Pakistanis anyway.
Yeah. So why invade the East Pakistanis if they're not having anything to do with this? They already don't like West Pakistani people or that region. So why give yourself or why give them any incentive? I'm going to move this over here. So why give them any incentive? I don't like the sound of that. So why give them any incentive to join the fight? If you go into there and let's say you start treating them like they're the enemy, then what's to say that they're not going to side with the West Pakistani and, well, you started it, so they're, you know what I mean? Like, just leave them alone. Eventually, you'd figure the West Pakistani is going to, the Western side is going to somehow do an incursion or something, and Now they could jump in with India to fight them. So I would act like that doesn't even exist. I wouldn't even want to get involved there.
Anyway, for India, it was enough to pressure Pakistan into diverting military resources to protect the East. As the conflict between India and Pakistan worsened, the international community became increasingly concerned about the potential for a larger regional war. The United States and the Soviet Union, despite being on opposite sides of the Cold War, both had vested interests in preventing the conflict from spiraling out of control. The US initially provided diplomatic backing to Pakistan, but as the war intensified, it became clear that a prolonged conflict would destabilize the region. The Soviets, while supportive of India's position, were equally concerned about maintaining regional stability and avoiding direct confrontation with the United States.
That's where it comes down to. Proxy wars are fine until you get to the point where you think, oh, wait a minute, we might be brought into this conflict, that we are just doing everything we can to give money and equipment to. Now, we might be brought into this. No, we're not risking our lives. We got to stop the whole thing. And it's just like, really? Jeez, what do I got? I got to move that thing further away from me now. But it's, oh no, we can't do that. We can't risk our own people. I hate when governments, and look, America does that too, but I hate it in a way. But I understand it in some aspects.
Both superpowers thus found common ground in their desire to mediate an end to the hostilities. On September 6th, the UN Security Council passed Resolution 209, urging both countries to cease hostilities and withdraw their forces to pre-conflict positions. Despite this initial call, fighting continued, prompting further action from the UN. Subsequent resolutions, including Resolution 210 and Resolution 211, reiterated the demand for a ceasefire and called for direct negotiations between India and Pakistan. Under intense international pressure and facing the exhaustion of resources, both India and Pakistan eventually agreed to a ceasefire. On September 23, 1965, a UN-mandated ceasefire came into effect. The terms of the ceasefire required both nations to withdraw their forces to positions held before the outbreak of hostilities, and to respect the line of control. The Tashkent Agreement, brokered by the Soviet Union in January 1966, saw both nations agreeing to restore economic and diplomatic relations and to withdraw troops from disputed areas. Despite the ceasefire and subsequent Tashkent Agreement, the war left a legacy of unresolved tensions, especially around the status of Kashmir, while the rivalry between India and Pakistan remained as severe as it was before the war began. Overall, the war left significant casualties and losses on both sides. India suffered approximately 3,000 casualties, while Pakistan faced around 3,800 casualties. Both nations also incurred substantial material losses, including hundreds of tanks and aircraft, alongside considerable economic costs due to the prolonged military engagement. With these sobering tallies, underlying disputes and nationalistic fervor persisted, ultimately setting the stage for future conflicts and continuing instability in the region. Remember to subscribe to Armchair History TV.
Wow. So this, let's talk, fellas. There you go. Let's just move me right here. So this kind of, India and Pakistan do not get along today. So is this, was this the start of it, or was this just something that has continued? I mean, I know that they don't get along now, but was this war the start of that, and they've been at it since 1965? Or was there something before that, and this was just another speed bump in the history of bad relations? I don't know. Oh, this is going to drive me crazy. I got some more lights coming. So, but anyways, that was interesting. I feel so far away from my screen. It feels weird. I got to figure something out. I got to get another stand in here or something, put a keyboard on there. But none of that's important to you. I'm going to end this here. If you have another video, I'm going to do the China one. But if you have something else, throw it in there. I'll take a look at it. But until next time, have a good day, have a good night.